This week, I won a writing competition. A couple of months ago, I enrolled in the Harvard Thought Leaders Writing Incubator. And one of the outcomes of the program was that you got to submit a written piece to be judged by an independent panel. And somehow, against all odds, I won that contest. But this video isn't about that contest. It's about the journey of creating something that's truly meaningful to you. When I was writing that piece, it was Sunday night, it was 2 a.m., I was exhausted. I just wanted to let it go. I thought it was stupid. There was no way I was going to win this competition. And my wife insisted, she said, you have to complete the program and put your heart into this piece and just submit it. So somehow I did, and I was honestly shocked when I won. And it really invited a reflection on this experience of creating something against all odds. Because in my life, almost everything meaningful that I've ever created, when I look back, if I'm being completely honest, it has involved an incredible amount of struggle, doubt, and effort. And there is this mantra in the spiritual world about letting go and letting flow. And if you really knew me, you would know that I'm deeply devout. I spend 2.5 hours every day meditating and practicing yoga. It's a big part of my life. And so these concepts of what it means to let go and surrender to something is something that's deeply important to me as far as a territory of understanding. And yet when I look deeply at this, I think there's a distinction between letting go and pushing that isn't necessarily mutually exclusive. If you imagine a woman giving birth, and of course I've never gone through this process, but I can imagine that it involves letting go and pushing like your life depends on it. And similarly, I find when you create anything that's truly meaningful in your life, if you're really following your purpose or your calling, you will be confronted by moments when you just need to let go and push like your life depends on it. And what does that mean? It means letting go of the outcome, letting go of your doubts, letting go of your fears, letting go of everything that keeps you from just giving yourself entirely to the process. It doesn't mean letting go in a way that it makes everything easier or somehow just magically manifest what you want. Maybe that's possible for some people, but my experience has been that manifesting anything, making it happen in the real world, especially if it's significant, involves a tremendous amount of focus, presence, and energy. At the same time, it's important to know when to let go, like as in to let go of a project, to not put energy into a project. At the end of my last startup, I was really attached to the last remaining asset that the company owned, which was a very fancy domain name, heartbeat.com. And my lead investor wanted to sell it off so that he could recoup some of his investment. I really dug my heels in and pretty much blew up that relationship. In retrospect, I should have just let go. It was just a domain name. It's time to move on. On the other hand, a few years ago, I was working on a large-scale Burning Man project. This was a big word that said word. It was 40 feet wide and 10 feet high, made out of wood and covered in pages of scripture from all the world's major religions. I raised thousands of dollars and put together a small team of 4 people to put this thing together. And the project pretty much destroyed me. I mean, it took every last bit of energy and willpower to put it together, to bring it onto the playa, to build it, to burn it, to complete everything. And in retrospect, this has been one of the most meaningful things I have ever done. I wouldn't take back that effort, that feeling of being broken for anything. I'm so grateful for that experience. In smaller ways, almost any meaningful thing that I have ever written or created has had a similar pattern of part of me just feeling like it was impossible, like it wasn't going to happen. Why am I doing this? Why am I even trying? And somehow another part of me just staying with it, digging into it, pushing and giving myself into it until something emerges that later in my life I look back on and I say, wow, I created this? This is incredible. This is so much better than what would have happened if I just took a nap or watched Netflix or whatever. And I think at the heart of this is really being receptive to what's important to you, what's called for in this moment. And just knowing, is it time to move on, to let this go because this isn't right for me? Or is it time to just give all of myself to this process, to let go of my thoughts, my fears, my doubts, the uncomfortable feelings and the bad emotions I have, because that stuff is just there. Just because you're working on something that's meaningful, that needs to happen in the world, doesn't mean it's going to feel good. It just means that you have to give all of yourself to it. I think the most important thing is just recognizing that that's okay. That it's okay to be confronted in such a deep way and to go through something that feels so deeply uncomfortable, but that you give yourself to it anyway, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're not doing anything wrong, that that's just part of the process of creating something. Every time a child is born, there's this incredible struggle that occurs, and that's okay. And every project that you create that is truly meaningful will likely, not always maybe, hopefully, who knows, will likely involve this struggle that feels like life or death. And that's okay. That's okay. So thank you for watching. I hope this has somehow offered you value or inspired you or given you some insight into your own work. I would love to hear from you, your own creation story. What have you created in your life that has been so meaningful and yet felt like such a struggle, maybe against all odds, and it actually happened? Thank you for watching. So much love.